So we'll call the meeting to order at 6:02.
Sure.
What time is it?
6:02, you nailed it.
Okay, 6:02 p.m. So are there any additions or deletions to the agenda, please? Is Lori got her hand up?
Sure does.
Go ahead, Lori.
I do. Can we just throw on approved financials?
Sure, we don't have them.
You had them.
I know, I approved them, so I think they're all done. Did you bring
Well-
financials over? Bob, did you bring financials over?
No, they're all electronic. I think Lori's trying to tell you.
Oh,
Yeah, so we just need you to approve them for the board minutes. The auditors read through these minutes and that's what they look for this. So I have the amount and everything.
okay, so if we have to do that, then let's make sure we have a copy here, because people aren't gonna wanna vote on something that they can't see. Usually,
Okay.
I know we've been getting, an abstract of them, so if we could do that. So, yeah, I'm gonna add that under, I'm gonna put that under superintendent's report. How's that? Approve financials. Thank you, Lori. Is there any other changes? Chad, are you all set? Is Chad? Yeah, he's still there. Okay, so I got members of the public. We have a few. Is there anybody that'd like to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Rich, Allen Block here. I'm just calling for my monthly update on the website.
Oh, we've got that on the agenda, boss, and that is
Okay,
under old
all right.
business, so we should be there shortly if you want to hang out.
Hooray, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anybody else? Hearing none, members of the staff, I got, I don't think, there's no staff up there, is there?
Just Greg from.
Yeah, he's under PCB update, so. Okay, if there's no staff, we'll run right into old business. I think, who was doing the Wardsboro playground? Is that you, ma'am?
It's Craig.
Or Craig? Okay, Greg, you want to do the update on the playground?
Sure, I'd love to. So the playground will ship on the 29th. Mitch Clifton removed the structure this weekend, and we have it all scheduled. It should be like the first week of October. It'll be installed, and then we'll have fresh mulch showing up hopefully the day or two after that they're completed. So that's the plan.
Okay, is there any questions? Are we still on budget, where we thought we were gonna be?
Yep.
Cool. Any questions for Greg on the playground, or any comments?
This is Dana Cerise. I do have a question because I know that things usually take longer than we always plan. And so I'm just, again, this is, I have a first grader at Wardsboro and she is so anxious to get on that structure that she comes home every day like, Mommy, when are we gonna go on the playground? And I'm like, I'm gonna find out tonight. And so if I tell my daughter October 1st, is she gonna be on the playground that day?
Negative. No, the ship date is September 29th, which is the day it will ship. You're going to have 4 or 5 days in transit, probably 3 to 5 days on install, and then mulch thereafter. It's probably going to be like the second week of October. Lori Garland and I talked about this morning. We thought that they had told us this summer that the delivery date was the 29th, and they said the ship date is the 29th. The purchase order is in place. Everything is scheduled. At this point, it's just kind of a matter of letting things play out, and my goal is to have that thing, up and useful as quick as we can from the moment they say this is done. We should have mulch sitting there waiting, and a tractor and some manpower ready to put it in, to put the mulch in, and the kids can play on it basically as soon as we're done getting the mulch around the structure. So I can't guarantee you a date. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I wish I
okay.
could.
Sir, I appreciate the efforts. But again, there are many anxious sixth graders and the rest of the school that is waiting for that. So no pressure, but pressure.
Yeah. That's the story of my life. No problem, Dan.
Well, just wait, Greg, we got more for you.
I know.
Okay, are you all set, Dana? She said she-
Yes, sir, thank you so much, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on the playground? Okay, oh, go ahead.
Hi, this is Donna Basic, the principal. I would like to thank the Plimptons. They came this weekend to remove that structure, so thank you for coming out on the weekend, doing that extra legwork. And we're going to do a little walkthrough with Greg to ensure that the structure was, taken out completely to make sure that it's in safe condition. So I'm going to reach out to Greg, and we're going to look at that a little bit carefully and make sure it's safe.
Thank you, Donna. Are there any other comments on the playground?
We're very excited for it. Very excited.
Well, we built the one out here. One little third grader said to her mom, I've waited all my life for something like this. So, so we know. So hopefully it'll get there soon for you, Dana, and all the students in Wardsboro. And Lori, a big thanks go to you and Greg. And I know Tammy had a lot of involvement with that beforehand. So thank you, folks. Greg, you want to do a PCB update in Dover? And maybe just let us know what when you've heard about Wardsboro testing dates and.
Yeah. So just recently, I was in contact with Austin O'Neill. I feel like I'm attempting to contact them daily, but they're super overwhelmed. But either way, they gave us the early October for testing Wardsboro and mid-October for testing Leland and Gray and Dover. They can do the sampling in those two locations. They believe they can get it all done in a day. I met with James Donaldson this morning, and we have, I think, a total of 11 purifiers for 8 spaces that will go, that we should be able to get ordered tomorrow. When we did this the first time with those guys over at Marlboro, they made promises of a really short turnaround that weren't real. So I'm going to say that we're probably a week and a half out on having purifiers for those spaces in Dover. So we're doing everything we can to keep the people in the building as safe as we can, and pushing as hard as I can anyways to schedule this stuff. The tough thing now is, in order to do retesting or even any building testing, we have to give 2 weeks notice. Because we have to let the lawyers know so that the lawyers can let Monsanto know so that Monsanto can have a representative. It's all part of the lawsuit. So, it just adds a layer of, of kind of legwork to making things happen. But so when I got the email from Josh, I was able to use that as enough for the lawyers to notify Monsanto that we should be doing Wardsboro initial testing first week of October.
And how long, so is the testing going to be different length of time for Wardsboro because it's the initial than Dover, which is, or is it all pretty much, how long is it after you take the test that we get results?
That's usually like 4 to 6 weeks, and it's varied depending on when the state labs get information back to people, and then the state or if Austin O'Neill get back to us. I'm still waiting on the final exact information from Marlboro. I think that they found that to be somewhat inconclusive and is going to require another round of testing, which is crazy. But I'm hoping that, we would, as James and I talked about today, that we would test middle of October, have it back around the holidays, and then have something together with Austin O'Neill by, the February break time that we're putting out for a bid to have any remediation done for next summer. And he seemed to think that was a realistic timeline. It sounded reasonable to me, doable. So that's the goal, and we're just going to keep pushing to that end,
Okay, well, I just want to thank you. I know you were up here the first day of school to talk to people if they had any questions. I'd like to thank our new administrator who's been bombarded with everything that could go wrong, seems to have gone wrong for her, but I think, having the meeting really quickly after that and, having you guys here and be prepared, thank you. I think it went really as well as can be expected. I'm just glad the numbers weren't Burlington-like numbers. So, are there any questions for Greg or anybody on the PCB testing?
Hi, Greg. It's Dana. I have a third grader at Dover, and I wanted to know, so what happens if we get the results back and they're inconclusive, just like they are at Marlboro? Then does remediation then get pushed back until they retest, or?
Yeah, we would have to just continue to retest. We will retest until we know exactly what it is, and then because, we can't really push forward a request for proposal to remove without knowing exactly what we're taking out. So, yes, the goal is, and the hope is that they come back and say, this is it, we're 100% sure this is it, this is, these are the steps forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, at most places, they have not had the issue of needing to retest again like this. This is, I don't know that it's the first time, but it is not something that has been the norm. Generally, they've been able to, they've been able to identify exactly where it's coming from and move forward. This is going to require them to dig a little bit deeper. So my guess is they're going to have to, maybe we're talking about in some sheetrock walls and, or maybe deeper into the mastic of the flooring or up in the ceiling tile. I'm not exactly sure. So we'll cross the bridge when we do. We just keep, most of all this testing stuff is all out of my hands, and so I push for as much information and push to make things happen as fast as I can. And past that, it's unfortunate. There's not a whole lot I can do about it.
No, I appreciate that, and I understand the timeline, especially if you're dealing with the state. I was just wondering if, inconclusive results were common, and you told me that is not. So hopefully we find out what it is and get remediation done as fast as possible, and I really appreciate you being on top of this. Thank you.
Of course, no problem.
I just want to say thank you to Greg. We have, when you guys created this position several years ago, obviously we didn't know COVID was going to happen. We didn't know PCBs were going to happen. But I'm glad that was done because Greg's working more than a full-time job, keeping the schools caught up with all this stuff, and now he's going to respond to informing the attorneys and everything else. So I just want to make sure people appreciate what a tremendous amount of work that he's doing on top of the other parts of his job that he's supposed to be doing just to manage the PCB stuff in all of our buildings. So. Well,
and I was talking to Tracy before the meeting, and one of the things, like when Matt first came to us, Matt and Tammy got to learn a lot about water systems and sewer systems, and that's really not what we hired them for, to take care of water. So, and I was definitely somebody who argued a lot for a facilities transportation person because of this kind of stuff, so that our educators, our administrators can work on the best education, and which is in their expertise, and we have somebody that has expertise, and I think we hit a home run with Greg.
And you're dead on at the other schools that don't have someone like him. It's the principals that are doing it.
Right. So, well, they have to because it's where it ends. So good job. And again, like I said, Tracy's done a great job getting the word out. So people knew about it. So I think we've been very fortunate. So everybody's hit the ground running. Any other comments on PCB? Because we're going to move on to something really exciting, and I know Alan is going to be very tickled. So, Chad, can you give us a website update?
Sure. I hope tickle is the right word, because the last time we spoke, and Alan, I appreciate you being on top of it from a parent and citizen hat-wearing individual. So our main contact, who was really helping us bring this to fruition from Edgeworks, she was out for about a month. So we got a bit behind, and Cynthia was phenomenally apologetic, but again, life happened with her, and her response was fantastic as soon as she was on board. So the update that we have is that training has happened for both Donna and Jen Rinaldi at Wardsboro. I believe Tracy and Lori had some scheduling, a whole lot going on. So to find coverage for the front office staff did not work as well for Dover. I do hope that we are able to, and Cynthia said she was able to come back down to campus as soon as they are ready, which is great. That way we're going to have the ability to make those updates in the most local capacity. With that being said, Derek Bliss has been fantastic. For those of you who don't know, he's the director of IT for the WCSU, so he was involved in the initial operating committee that was bringing this to fruition. So he followed up again today asking, we didn't get a response, I've just checked email again, to this point as to what is holding us up from going live. And, you know, in our humble non-website making estimation, there really shouldn't be anything in the training that is preventing the website from going live for Dover, as well as the board and Wardsboro. So, you know, we're looking to turn the switch as soon as possible, and to be able to make, excuse me, the micro changes, either at the school or, you know, in Derek's hands at that secondary level, so that we have the website operational. As I mentioned to the group at the last meeting in the middle of August, that, you know, the structure is all set. I think we're really just about ready to go. And my guess is that without having Cynthia confirming this with us today, that she just wants us to be comfortable with the ability to make those updates and subtle changes, you know, as we go. But, you know, very confident that everything else is in line. You know, my big concern was making sure the Google Drives with financials, board docs, and so on, those were accessible. And to my, you know, from my understanding, they are to everyone. So, you know, essentially, we're just looking to flip the switch.
And when do you think the switch will be flipped?
I just have to hear from Cynthia to have her confirm, you know, what, if there is anything else. It looks like Donna's got some input, so I'd love to hear.
Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, so we had a great training with Cynthia. She is very knowledgeable, and it's there's a lot to learn. And I appreciated her time, and we spent about 2.5 hours, and we didn't even, like, we have another 2.5 hours to go to finish up. But she really got us to a place where we can work on some pages. It's just finding the time to do that. And so we're looking at our schedules to see when we can have that take place. We've just been short-staffed at Wardsboro, so there's really no extra time to do it. So we're working with Derek to kind of come up with a plan of how we can lift this off, because Alan, I want to get it going as soon as possible. I think it's a great website and will help with communication, and so that's where we're at with it.
Okay.
And we're just waiting to hear back from Cynthia when she can come to finish that last bit of training.
So is there any other comments, questions, thoughts on the website? Okay, Chad, thank you. I know you've put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's really appreciated. And, you know, again, we got 2 new administrators. Thank you for making sure it didn't fall on its face, even though it's not something you guys started. So, and actually 3 new administrators if we count Bob. If there's nothing on the website, is there any other old business for anybody? Okay, so I'm going to ask a new business. I'm going to bounce around a little bit. So I'm going to hold principals' reports. Bob submitted the cabinet report or the SU report. So if there's any questions on anything in that report that we have, or Bob, any other late-breaking topics? This is a pretty long report. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, you know, obviously, I'm happy to adjust whatever the needs are you guys have. If there's more information in certain areas, or you could use less information in certain areas, my staff, I'm sure, will be happy to have less information to provide. But I wanted to start off with sort of a big overview, and if there's, you guys, if you take time to digest it and then let me know, I don't want it to be, you know, just for our purposes, if it's too long to read or it's not helpful, but let me know.
I think it was pretty consistent to what we used to see.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Chad, did you have any issues with it? Unmute.
Sorry. No. You know, a lot of information, all very on point, and you know, most importantly, for Bob, I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying the role, as we appreciate you and Sue and what you're doing to support all the schools within the supervisory union, and certainly your knowledge and experience has been fantastic to roll into this position. So thank you for such an in-depth.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. There are two new things I put at the bottom that I don't think Bill had on his. One of them was the Director of Technology update, and one was the Equity Coordinator update. So obviously the Equity Coordinator didn't exist. So, but now that Matt is in the role of Technology Director, it seemed like there was more of a context for him to kind of report out on. So, and Lindsay is here today, our new Equity Coordinator in the call
We're gonna
here
get to that in a minute.
to be able to introduce yourself to you guys as well. So, but yeah, thank you, appreciate that, Chad.
Okay, so if the superintendent's report is good and there's no questions for the superintendent, I know you've hit the ground running in some other districts, so hopefully things will calm down a little for you too. Let's get Greg. Greg, are you going to talk about the flooring for Dover?
Sure, I'd love to. So, speaking of other districts and things hitting the ground running, there was a miscommunication in another district, and just some issues with some flooring that was ordered. And Tracy and I were chatting one day, and she had talked about being interested in some of the flooring that is at one of the other schools in the district. And I didn't really click for me until I got home, and I realized, wait a minute, we have a couple thousand square feet of flooring in that, we're going to sell to a district. I just called her and said, hey, I think I have enough that would do like your whole pre-K room if you're interested. And she just was like, are you serious? I'm super interested. So we wanted to come to the board to see if you would be interested in purchasing. It's a little over 2,200 square feet of floor. It's right at like $10,500. So it's right around $5 a foot. It's not considered, it won't be installed. This was just this other district was going to kind of float it for a year because they had asbestos and they didn't have the money to deal with the asbestos, and so that they decided to go another route. And so I just wanted to ask you all if you'd be interested in purchasing this, and it's something then we would probably try to have either installed throughout the year if there's money in the budget to, or to have it installed next summer in the pre-K room.
When were we scheduled to replace the flooring in the pre-K room?
I am not 100% sure. So it just was, I think it was just more of an opportunistic situation where the square footage that was floating out there was darn near exactly the size of the pre-K room, and so and it is a really good quality flooring. It's the Flotex flooring by Corvo. It's a straight grain carpet, so it almost feels like a mesh. And because it doesn't loop like regular carpet does, dirt and stains come out of it like phenomenally. We've put it in most pre-Ks. We did both towns and pre-Ks with it, and we're just really impressed with how much all the stains came out this past summer after having it in there for a year. So it just kind of, a conversation that kind of snowballed into, well, let's ask the board if they would be interested in purchasing it,
And is the floor in the pre-K really bad? I've not been in there for a lot of years.
I would defer to Tracy on
Yeah.
What's the surface like?
It's the same kind of carpet, but
A wood one?
it's seen a lot of abuse, if you can imagine, with tiny people and toileting issues.
Isn't it right there?
You want to go on a field trip? We can't because we can't take everybody with
You
us.
send an ambassador.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it's something, I think it's at $5 a square foot for any carpet is really good. But again, I don't know where it fit into the capital plan, and if it's something that needed to be bumped up, maybe it's something we should have discussed before. But you're looking to expend an additional $10,000?
it.
And what are you projecting for an install cost?
We have one done this year at Newbrook where we had leftover carpet tile from the year before, and it was like $2,400, I think it was, to install. So it was fairly reasonable.
Okay. So is there any thoughts from the board?
Shouldn't have kids rolling around on bad carpet.
If there's an opportunity to get a really good deal and upgrade the surface for the pre-K kids, like, and it's something that will clean easier, that seems like a really good deal to pass up.
Not to pass up.
Not to pass up, yeah.
You want to do it.
Yes.
Chad, what do you think, buddy?
Sorry, I was on the agenda window. I mean, I agree with Kate. We have the opportunity to do it, and the funds available to do it. You know, what we've learned, I think, in the last couple of years, and it was, you alluded to, we didn't expect COVID, but, you know, if we can keep things as sanitary as possible for the young kids, I think that just is a benefit for everybody, frankly. So if there's a possibility, it seems to make sense.
So then my next question is more for Lori and our two administrators. Where do we stand with the budget this year? How are we looking? Is that something, Lori, that should come out of capital? Is that something?
I would suggest taking it out of capital. I mean, I'm looking at your capital plan right now, and you know, flooring, and this is vinyl. It's out there a ways, like 27. So, you know, if the pre-K room needs to be done or should be done more regularly, then we should move that up. But I would say take it out of capital.
And how is that gym floor looking? Because are we going to be overspent, underspent?
Greg can fill us in on that, but I think it's overspent. For sure.
Yes, it is overspent by a fair amount. The quote for the flooring was, I think, 84, and the asbestos removal was 32. And last I knew in that capital plan, it was only in there at like 65.
That's correct.
So what about like the windows and all the other projects, capital projects, are any of them under budget?
Wardsboro came in like 7,000 over. They had, I think, 4 or 5 sections where there were rotten windowsills, and they had to restructure some areas and rebuild that out and replace some siding. But other than that, it's complete.
And what are other capital projects for this year?
Actually, you're under, sorry. So you had like 60,000, I think it was, in unit ventilator replacements. And what we chose to do was to repair, we had some motors last year in unit ventilators that were oil cooled, and they don't make them anymore. And so one thing we had to do in that room was they put like a computer fan in there, and then just a regular air cooled motor. And so we were going to change out the rest of the units for those. And then we are putting glycol in the system, and I think we're like 15,000 less than what was in the capital for that project.
But we're like 60 over
so far.
We're like 60 over on the floor.
Yes, we're still 60 over there. I'm just saying on that project work.
What? No, I know that. I'm trying to see what we have for money. We don't have a financial to look at. And, you know, are we spending money that we don't have? And that's how you get in trouble. So I just want to, I'm all for doing it, but I need to know if, before I could vote on it, I'd like to just know if it makes sense. There's a lot of great deals out there, but, you know, if you don't have the money, it's hard to do them. So I would like assurances from somebody saying that, yeah, doing this isn't going to affect us or, you know, put us in the hole for this year or put us way over budget or...
I'll be having your financials the next round, and I usually do, you know, the first 3 months. There's stuff happening and being encumbered, so I'll have that for you next month, which will give you some idea of where you're at currently and where you might be at, but I don't have it today.
Well, I guess, Lori, you're the financial guru. What do you think?
I do think it is a good deal. I think that probably on the capital plan, we need to look at some of those numbers anyway. Greg and I had talked about this. That capital needs assessment was done how many years ago now?
17.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of those numbers need to be updated as well. So the flooring number that's out there for a few years, that also needs to be updated. So doing something now with a good deal will reduce that.
So because it wasn't approved, we didn't have it when we went to town meeting or the school district meeting. Usually I say, go ahead and, the administrators, if it fits in their budget on operational items, since this is a capital, I feel very confident that we should have a motion and a vote of the board if you want to expend it, because it's outside. And then if we're going to buy it, one thing I am concerned about is storing it, because we have stored stuff in the building before that, gets forgotten or goes away, and then, it's like, whoa, what is that? So I think, Greg gave us a number of around 2,500 for install, so I think we should, probably do it so that he can get it installed, so that it doesn't get ruined or nothing happens to it or the mice don't chew on it. So I think we should probably look for an expenditure of $13,000. Does that make sense to people? So if we want to do it, somebody will need to make a motion. And you can't make a motion, Greg.
I would like to make a motion that we move forward on this opportunity to purchase flooring for the Dover pre-K classroom, and purchase the flooring and an install budget for a total of $13,000 for a project expense
Out of capital.
out of capital.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anybody on the board? If not, are you ready to vote? If you're ready to vote, all those...
Can I ask a question?
Well, are you on the board?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not. Okay.
Do you guys want to entertain a question from a member of the public? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Janet.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was just wondering, so if we held off, if the vote was to wait until we got the financials more up to date to make this decision, like, is that flooring going somewhere fast? Or are they just, if it wasn't decided upon today, but was decided upon, like, what happens in the meanwhile? Is there somebody else bidding for this piece of this flooring at the moment?
Not necessarily bidding, but they're storing it for me, and they're going to want to get paid for their flooring. So I would probably have another school purchase it. But I had told Tracy that she would have the first opportunity at it, so I could not sell it to another school that was requesting it.
Janet,
Gotcha.
one of the things,
Yeah,
we're not overly concerned because we have fairly large reserves, but we're trying, I want us to think about that when we make motions like this.
Absolutely.
If he was asking for $150,000 for carpet, then, it would be maybe a little different story. But I think we had a bigger surplus last year than this. And I do know, I just brought a bunch of carpet for some projects we're doing, and, $20 a yard is pretty average. So if it's good carpet and what we're getting it for, it is a really good deal. But I just want to make sure that we think about that when we make our vote.
Great. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is, so you guys got new carpet. So let's get that installed over winter break,
Okay.
because you got money for install too.
Rich, I just have one question. I'm just trying to figure out how you could see through the camera and know that I was about to make the motion.
Well, no, your green light lit up around you.
I was kind of, I'll help. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate y'all. And again, as usual, don't ever hesitate to reach out, especially with this PCB stuff. I'm here to answer any questions for y'all. I want people to feel supported and safe.
Okay, but don't leave yet, because I got two other, are you involved with the food service discussion?
Maybe.
Bob or?
Whoever.
I think this was actually something that Donna brought up to talk about, right?
Donna, do you need Greg here for that?
What's the question?
On the food service topic, under new business. Do you need?
I had shared what you and I had talked about with Rich, and he suggested we put it on the agenda just to have a conversation about it.
I don't think we need Greg.
Okay. So,
We can always access you afterwards for clarification, Greg.
You sure can.
so then Greg, before you run away, the Wardsboro, the Planning Commission, Emergency Planning Commission, Wardsboro want to meet with some board members about the Wardsboro Elementary School as a shelter. And since you're in charge of the building, they want to do a half-hour meeting either October 10th or October 24th. Is that something that you can attend with us?
Yeah, you make it work on your schedule and I'll make my end work and I'll be there.
Okay. So I think we're good with you then, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank
I
you,
think
guys.
you can leave.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Lori, you want to do your, approve the financials, and I think you're going to speak about the business office changes?
Right.
Oh, you are? So you don't need her for that?
Well, I mean, she can answer other questions.
Okay.
She can stay on.
So Lori, you want to do the financials first? Give us a number?
I sure do. So this would be voucher number 7, and it is for $63,593.76. That's 63593.76.
And that's for payroll, for operational expenses, for everything?
Yeah, that's your AP,
Okay.
your normal
Accounts
monthly AP. Yep.
So would somebody like to make a motion? I have been getting them through some program that I have to read, and it's very difficult, but it's because it's technology. Thank you, Bob. And,
It's like a DocuSign type thing.
yeah, and it's not easy to go through it, but, so there was nothing that I saw that seemed out of sorts, so.
I also had eyes on them, and
You
I
did
also did,
You saw
I
it
did
too?
not see anything that was out of order.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve voucher number 7 for the amount of $63,593.76.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second that.
Mike seconds it. Meredith, I am really sorry. I'm out of practice since we've had a lot of time off this summer. Are you okay with the motions? Are you getting them?
We're all good.
Okay.
Thanks.
If not, just yell, okay? So we have a motion and a second to approve 63,593.76, voucher number 7. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. I think then, do you want to go to business office changes?
Sure, yeah.
You and Lori?
So Lori Garland, who has received her recognition this fall when we recognized staff for longevity in the district, her 20 years in the district. And this is, I believe, her 8th as the Director of Finance, has announced that at the end of next calendar year, so December 24, she is going to retire. So, as you can imagine, that causes me quite a bit of stress. I'm very happy for her and her plans to travel the countryside. But her first concern too is to figure out a succession plan. A side note to that, since Lori Langevin, who was a part-time assistant business manager, part-time human resources manager, departed, I think that was pre-COVID. When we filled the HR position and with all the additional movement among staff, we had the need to make that a full-time position at the time when we replaced Lori with just HR. So we've never really filled the other half of the assistant business manager position. What Lori would like to do, and I support it wholeheartedly, is to bring that back. We have an employee that we feel can meet that need internally. The only push for us would be that it would require us to increase another half-time person to full-time around December, January, around the winter break for the remainder of this fiscal year. So there'd be a slight increase in cost because of that for the rest of this fiscal year. And then as we talk about budgets at the SU level, we'll talk about this fall, we'll talk about what this will look like moving forward and the replacement of Lori. But for this fiscal year, the impact would be to try to make this other person the assistant business manager and to increase this other lower paid employee to a full-time from half-time to meet some of the need that this assistant business manager would be filling with Lori, learning some of that work. Did I do okay on that one, Lori?
Can you hear me?
I can right now, yeah.
Because I can't hear you any longer. The sound went out.
Oh, he said that you're gonna be with us through 2030 and that you agreed to no more pay increases.
Hold on.
I think that was a guess.
Is it back?
Can you hear
I
us?
can't hear you guys.
Can you hear us?
I can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Can other people in the audience hear us, or is it just her?
Donna said motion.
Yeah, you're good.
I can hear you.
All right.
Hey, Scott, there's somebody Scott on there. Do you have, can you just tell us your last name, Scott, so we got you for the minutes?
So,
Salway?
yeah. Yep. Salway.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
So Rich, I just texted Lori to let her know. She's gonna try to reconnect.
Okay, so why don't we come back to this when Lori gets back?
Sure.
So, food service, how, do you want to do food service? Is that,
It's really, so your food service runs out of Dover and the food gets brought over to Wardsboro. And one of the things I think that Donna had heard in some of the data that she collected last year, that Tammy had collected, that she has seen, and some of the early returns this year, there was some concerns about the travel and the prep and then the travel and then the reassemblage on the other end. There's led to some quality problems, I would say, soggy food, stuff like that. And so she just wanted to make sure everyone's sort of aware of that and talk about whether there were any possible solutions to that. And I don't know enough about it to really know. Maybe Tracy might know more about it.
I do actually.
Oh.
Sitting out front
I saw
are the
that.
2 warming trays that are now going to go to Wardsboro.
Oh, so those weren't here before.
No.
So it was traveling in a car.
Well, it's because there actually has to be somebody there to serve it. So I'm not sure that the person that brings it over has the time to stay to serve it. I don't know how that's going to work, but I do know that they're there now.
they let Lori in too.
All right. Donna, what is your service? Do you have someone that serves separately over there? I just don't know the full layout.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm new and may not know all the ins and outs of the food service, but I know that Crystal Roby has been the food service provider for Wardsboro. And that since COVID, they have just kind of continued the service as with the clam boxes to keep them, they're made at Dover, they're brought over. And looking at some of the data, a lot of the students were saying how the food was really soggy, and I've observed it. It's sometimes, the French fries are soggy. So I'm just wondering, they have had the warming trays and in the past. So can we bring that back so that they have better food?
And is back, you have those, right?
Yes, we purchased them. They're sitting out in the entryway.
Yeah, there's all 2 boxes.
But, so like, will they still load the food in clamshells and then take it to Wardsboro, or they'll put it in the warming trays and then take it to Wardsboro?
It'll be family style now.
Okay.
Taken to Wardsboro.
And then somebody will serve it into portions.
Yes, but
that's
the
something-
problem is that it still has to be, my understanding, and I don't know it completely either, is that it still has to be on disposable, compostable serviceware because there's no place to wash the dishes. So then the dishes, the warming trays and everything have to come back to Dover to be washed,
To go out the next day.
to go out the next day.
And do you have two sets so you could do like a
No.
no?
So on the warming trays though, I think, because we had a wedding last year that was very expensive, I found that you can get the warming thingamajigger, but
insert?
well, you get the trays separate. And then that way you can buy extra trays, so you don't have to buy a whole nother warming kit, but you can like go into the parts section and buy additional trays. So but Don, is that something, and Tracy and Bob, is that something that we need to deal with, or can you guys see what you can figure out? Because I know one of the other solutions was maybe getting the food close somewhere in Wardsboro or somewhere closer. I don't know what the travel time is to get from Dover to Wardsboro, but remember those of you that were on the discussion committee of River Valleys, we're the only district that's not connected by paved roads. All our roads are, the only way we connect town to town is dirt roads. So why don't we see if you guys can remedy that and make people happy, and if we need a big change, then I think that would be the board, but smaller purchases like additional.
Yes, and that was just information I wasn't aware of. I don't know if Donna was aware of or not, but and I can arrange with these guys to figure out how to get that going, and then see if we can get more if we need to, so we can cycle 2 sets back and forth or something. But yeah, it sounds like.
I'm not a part of it either. I think this is all Jake. He's the one that's figuring this out.
Oh, and he's setting up your folks here
Yeah.
with the setup. Okay.
Who's Jake?
Jake's the food guy at West River, who I think all the kitchens kind of flow from that.
Okay.
So he'll be catering our leadership
Yep.
retreat. So I'll connect with Jake then and loop Donna and Tracy and see if we can get this, at least see how good we can get it in the current system.
Yeah.
And then
Where we
get
go
feedback from Donna and come back from there.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Donna, you good with that? Yep, thumbs up. Are you-
Yes, yeah, and if there's anybody else with ideas or thoughts, I don't know if there's other compostable plates or silverware that would be better than the big cardboard box, but that could be something that we look into to help with the washing. I don't know if that's something, but I'd like to, brainstorm with Bob and Tracy first, and if anybody's willing to help us brainstorm, we're more than happy to hear from you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for letting us know that, and, let everybody know we're trying to work on a solution.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Lori, so if you couldn't hear Bob, what he said was you plan to retire in 2030, and that you said you didn't need any more raises, you make enough money as it is, and that you were very happy to stay with us till 2030. What was it?
I was paraphrasing, but
Yeah, that's close, so
I'll just run it by my husband, don't worry, it won't be a problem.
make sure I'm off camera so he doesn't know who we are.
So Lori, a good test of my listening skills would be if you can describe to the board what the reorganization looks like, and we'll see if it matches what I told them.
Yeah, so it does. I was on for that part. I couldn't hear you until I think you started asking questions.
Oh.
So you're correct that we are replacing a prior position, assistant business manager, in the short term to basically do some cross-training with me. Most of you know that I've been a big proponent in cross-training all of the positions within my office, and we've been very successful with that, with the exception of me, because there isn't somebody else to do this position. So just imparting my knowledge of the things I do that people just don't know that I do is going to be really important for a smooth transition. Along with that is increasing a person who works for us part-time to full-time to backfill what the assistant business manager was doing. So, and then as Bob said, also that in fiscal year, for planning for fiscal year 25, we'll sit down and take a look at what does that look like for fiscal year 25, because it is in the middle of a fiscal year. And probably your best time to, if you're going to look for an external candidate, is going to be for a July 1st start, right? So there would be some overlap from July to December, which would not be a bad thing. It is expensive, but it is, I'm working with another district doing some mentoring, and I can tell you that without some overlap, it's pretty hard to get things smooth.
Yeah, and we've been pretty spoiled with Lori, I think, as far as the quality of the work that she does. And it's when I went through the Superintendent Academy 2 years ago, one of the things they said was, don't ever take a job as a superintendent if you don't have a solid business manager. And
a good high school principal.
And a good high school principal. So I've talked around, since Lori and I have talked about this in her retirement, I've asked around to see, like, so what's the pool like? Like, and people are like, ooh, not good. So, you know, the potential for building some internal cross-training, as well as to give us time for a crossover, I think, are the two main takeaways from that. Is like, it's really important. We have an incredibly complex STU, different districts that do different things, and, you know, whatever. All of that, the accounting side of it, plus just education funding in Vermont is, as you guys know, a little wackadoo. So to have someone, to try to find someone that can fill her shoes is going to be a challenge regardless, to do it in a year and a half, a year and 4 months really. Yeah.
Well, last time we did this before Lori, we had really just one candidate that really met the qualifications. So it's not, even then it wasn't that easy. So,
yeah.
So I like the 2030 better.
Yeah, me too. But she wants to leave us. So anyways, so there wasn't any action required on the part of the board. We just wanted to inform you this is where we were, this is what we were talking about,
But it's going to take some action from Wyndham Central.
Correct.
So you and Dwight, right, is our other Wyndham Central person. We had an executive committee meeting. We discussed it. So we said, just let's go to all the boards so that it's not new to them when we have our meeting. And then you're going to also discuss it at the retreat.
I will.
So Lori, we know it's a long ways off, but thank you for a lot of lead time, because that really has helped. I think having Bob online last year, having had Bill online, having to be able to transition you up has really helped kind of keep the district moving forward. And we all know what happened last time. We had to go outside for a business manager that didn't work out too well. So hopefully with a little bit more lead time this time, we can do, hopefully some internal would help a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you. Lori, I think we're all set with you, unless you have something else.
All right. Have a nice night.
Thank you. So I think, can we skip over to Lindsay? Is it Lindsay?
Yep.
For the equity coordinator, and I'll let you do the introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, the SU board made a commitment last fiscal year to implement this new position on July 1. We went through a very rigorous hiring process with multiple levels, which ended with the candidates, the finalists, facilitating a group of students and staff through a complex conversation, and that happened at Leland and Gray. And so coming out of that, Lindsay Turgeon Brown, who you see on the screen here, was offered the position, and she accepted it. She started July 1. She's been a part of the leadership team in our summer retreat, getting to know the principals and the other players, and she is stationed here as an office at Leland and Gray, but she's been all over the district so far. I'm gonna let her say a little bit introduce a little bit of who she is. And I'll just say this before I let her do that. If she doesn't mention us, it's been important for me to mention this to people that they understand. She also has served as an elementary teacher. So she has, while she's situated physically with the middle and high schools at Leland and Gray, she has elementary background and is no stranger to jumping into some classes. I think she'll talk about that. So Lindsay, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Okay, great. So I'm Lindsay Turgeon Brown. I'm the new equity coordinator. I'm so excited to be in this role. It really aligns with my core values. And after I finished grad school, I was kind of looking for a path. And when I saw an equity coordinator position, it really called to me. I've been really very busy with the start of the school year. My main goals have been around community building and just having a positive start and building relationships with really everyone in the SU. So I started with reaching out to leaders and having some building tours, and then I've gone to staff meetings to talk a little bit about the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion work and the team that we have. That's the cross-generational JEDI team. And then I started interacting with students as well. At Wardsboro, we've done some culturally inclusive and diverse read alouds, which went so well and was so fun. We're planning to continue those. And coming right up in a couple weeks, I'll be visiting the staff meeting at Dover as well to get the ball rolling on that. So it's been a really busy, joyful, caring start, I would say.
Thank you. Are there any comments from anybody? Questions? Welcome to Wyndham Central. We're probably the best supervisor union in the entire state, bar none. We got the best staff and the best students and the best board, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. And you can stay till 2032 if you want.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for that warm welcome. It's been a pleasure so far, and I really look forward to connecting more.
And I think we're doing, isn't the next JEDI meeting a live one sometime?
Yeah, we're starting off the year with a day-long live retreat at Leland and Gray, and she's been already setting up the rosters of who's coming to that. There's some younger kids she's dipping into in the elementary schools as well, some 6th graders in places, maybe even 5th, I'm not sure. But yeah, just rebuilding the team membership and getting that up on board, and you'll be with us, I hope. And I think there's another board member in West River who's going to join as well.
Oh, good.
So yeah, I mean, there's been shifting of people coming and going, but we're going to continue the work, and we will be continuing to work through this school year with the Collaborative for Educational, whatever the last word is, service systems, I'm not even sure, out of Northampton, Mass.
Right.
But the intent is that they will turn over the leading of that group to Lindsay, probably mid-year, and then they'll stay on to consult with her and support her in that transition, and then we will become independent.
Is the intent, Lindsay, to make these all live meetings, or are you going to do like a couple live and mostly remote? What are your thoughts on that, or is that going to be up for the group discussion?
So I'm certainly always willing to collaborate and discuss, but right now my goal, I think, is to have in-person meetings. Is that what you mean by live versus?
Live versus Memorex. I call this Memorex.
Okay, understood. I'm with it. So my plan is to have them in person to start, just because there's an authenticity, a real genuineness that comes with being together and kind of bonding in the same space. So for now, I'd really like to start with them in person. However, bad weather, we would go virtual in an instant. We can't have the team if we don't have all of our folks safe and healthy.
Well, thank you. Are there any questions or comments, or if not, Lindsay, I'm sorry you had to stay for a little while. I kind of forgot you were there. But we appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you. I think she's going to be at the retreat too.
She is,
and kind of go over some of the stuff. So we'll see you at the retreat in Leland and Gray. When is that?
25th October?
October 25th. Just before
Sounds
Halloween.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Bob, I think the last thing, because I know you had some comments on this, is we have this policy F4 that we want to adopt. And you had made a comment to Kate about taking something out, or?
Yeah, so the model policy that comes from the state, or from the VSBA, I should say, has in it some language that gives some alternatives, some options if you chose to not have your doors locked during the day. And it gave you language to allow that. And I think what you guys did at first is you read that version the same time you read F3. And then we caught that. And so I think you guys ended up going back and doing the new reading of this version without that optional piece in there the last meeting.
And we warned it at the last meeting, so
Correct.
today,
So today you're ready to adopt. Nothing has changed from the last time you saw this. The optional piece was pulled out 2 meetings ago, and Kate was on top of all that. So this is a required policy. It has to do with the doors locked. You guys already have the access control and visitor management system in place anyways here and in Wardsboro. So you're already following this. It's just a matter of adopting the policy.
Okay, so, and it's been posted since we warned you for posting.
Yep.
So if there's no questions, would somebody like to make a motion to adopt policy F4, access control and visitor management?
I would like to make a motion to adopt policy F4, access control and visitor management.
Is there a second to that?
I second
I'll
that.
second.
Oh, Mike beat you to it because he's live, not Memorex. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. There, you guys have a new policy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And principals, do you folks need Bob here for your principal reports? No? Are you good?
I'm fine. I mean,
Okay.
if Bob wants to stay, he can stay, but if he needs to go, he can go.
We try to get people out, especially from central office that have more than one meeting. So I usually, when we get to this part, if he's all set, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to stay just because it was their first.
Okay, well
Their
then.
first
why
one,
don't-
so, but I.
Donna, why don't you go first since you're on TV? So you gave us a written report. Is there anything, any questions for her on her written report? Or is there anything new since you wrote that you need to let us know? Would like to tell us?
Well, the playground at the bottom, under financial efficiencies, yes, the playground has been removed. And the Windows project went very well. It did, there were some things that did come up about those windows that required a little bit more work. But they got completed, and very grateful for the windows. They're working very well. And I'm trying to think, anything else? If anyone had any other questions about anything?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. So one of the things that Donna shared in her report is that Wardsboro isn't fully staffed. So she's posted on School Spring. We're looking for a part-time school nurse, a .1 Spanish teacher, and a full-time general ed para, which is a new position. So if anybody has anybody in the community or anybody that they know of who's looking for something, please, help us out. Because sometimes referrals are our best way to find people.
Thank you, Kate, for saying that. Yes, yeah, we're still understaffed. Very appreciative to the staff who are taking more responsibilities and duties to fill those gaps. But we are actively seeking, and if anybody knows of anybody would be interested in just hearing more about the positions, that would be wonderful.
Okay, any other questions or comments for? Okay, Tracy, you're
I
up.
have a question, I have a logistical question before you get to Tracy. Do you do principal reports every 2 weeks, or do you do one a month?
No, they usually do one a month, and the idea is that anything in the principal's report that, unless there's a question, it saves them from having to kind of rehash
Yeah,
it.
okay.
And then if there's something new, like let's say today she went into the school and those brand new windows all fell out. So she would say, hey, I put down the windows were great, but guess what? They weren't.
And does it matter which meeting, or
We used to, I think we've always done them at the first, haven't we?
first meeting? Because I know my report will be ready for the beginning of each month
Right.
for all the boards, so if it would make sense to do it the first one too,
Well,
and then would your
yeah,
second
just-
meeting of the month be shorter then, because some of that stuff would be off the plate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's try it for the first, Donna, if that works for you. Or, if you folks want to split them up, but it's usually, there's not, yeah. I mean, because we always have a principal's report section, but the written part helps us maybe think of some questions.
Sure.
Because we.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the agenda is prepared the way you want it to be. That's
No,
all.
I think
Okay.
this has worked well. Are you okay with that, Donna?
Yeah, I just, yep, if something's gonna change, you just want a report first of the month,
Yeah,
correct?
and it follows, there's a format that
Yep,
the
we have it.
superintendent has
Yep.
set up, which you kind of followed. There's
Not
5
kind of,
top, well, you did, I
did
mean, yeah. I'm sorry. That you followed, but you can add to it too. If there's something that, you want to mention a staff member that did something really great, or a project the students did that doesn't fit in that agenda, in that guideline, you can throw that in there. If there's something that you think is the board would like to know, remember, not all the board members have kids in each building, so we kind of don't know exactly what's happening in Wardsboro if you're a parent in Dover, or vice versa, or if your kids were gone a long time ago. So, just whatever you feel, follow the format, because that's the superintendent's directive, but you can also add to it to expand on it a little bit if you want, or you have something you feel is important.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
And then I know, like, you guys each have a really cool specialty at each of your buildings, and hearing more about STEAM or more about IB would be like,
Yeah, the curriculum.
It doesn't have to be much, just give us a nugget if you have one, and if you don't, that's okay too.
Thank you for that clarification, yeah.
And one of the things with our administrators all being new, one of the things that we specifically did not do IB in both schools. We had a conversation about that, but one of our issues is that when you have two smaller schools so close, right next to each other, remember the state only sees us as one town apart, not, traveling on the South Wardsboro Road in the middle of the winter. And we thought that if there was 2 specialties in each building, that kind of further protects us from the state saying, oh, we're gonna close the school and force you all into one building. So that is, we put a lot of time and effort into coming up with a good secondary, or a good focus for the Wardsboro building. So that's really important to us, and I know we spent a lot of time and then the IB was something that was beforehand, so we really want to have these 2 different specialties to kind of protect ourselves from the big bad state.
So this is very helpful, thank you, in regards to highlighting or showcasing something that the school is doing. And we sent our newsletter, our first bi-weekly newsletter this past Friday, so I can certainly take some of that and to share, because we did do a lot on STEAM in the newsletter, and as well as like lots of teachers are still doing their routines and procedures and teaching expectations. And I will say the first and second grade classroom, they're working really hard with Mrs. Larson on the responsive classroom curriculum and doing an amazing job. So I'm really happy to report that out, and that will be on my agenda. I do know that Laughter started today. Lots of kids involved in the after-school program, and we are collaborating with the soccer to provide soccer for others that would not necessarily be on a soccer team. So that begins tomorrow, and next week our library will begin on Thursdays for kids to access the library.
So, just another kind of point, because it does add some flavor. If you all could include your whatever you send out to the parents, because again, Mike gets a Dover one and Kate gets a Wardsboro one, but we don't get the opposite ones, and then I don't get either. So that would kind of be nice. Laura, I know, doesn't get either, and Dwight doesn't have any students in the building. So if you can include those, because that adds a lot of the flavor, unless you guys think it'll be too much. I mean, I think it's...
You don't, and like, yeah, you don't, or maybe include it, but then just give, like, if you have a highlight, give the time. And it doesn't have to be a lot of work. I know you guys have a lot on your plates right now. Just if you have any awesome little cool things that you want to share, and that we can...
I'll just add you to my email.
Yes,
Yeah.
that works too.
No, that'd be good. Because then we can just include it with the agendas.
Group that goes to all.
Okay.
Okay, hey, thank you. That was a good conversation. Are you all set, Donna? Okay. Everybody
Thank
good
you.
with Wardsboro's report?
Chad, did you have a question?
I think he's eating.
Just a nibble. But no, I was going to point out that, you know, we do have space within the website to include the weekly newsletters and the archives as well. So in addition, you know, as you're saying, Donna, to, you know, and Tracy as well, you know, to bring in, you know, a couple nuggets of each. And to your point, Rich, will be able to follow through, everyone in the general public, to see what the principals are reporting, what the teachers are reporting from schools as well. So another reason why we're excited to have the website go live, to be able to follow the trajectory of every class of students that resides within our town.
Okay, thank you. Tracy?
I just have a couple of things to add. It said the gym floor was started, and those gentlemen work fast. The gym floor is done. It still has to cure, and the edging has to be put on, and we can't access it for like 3 weeks. But
That's secure.
it's done. And we are getting our new bus this Wednesday. I mean, so they say, because they've told us 100 times a date. But Dave is pretty sure it's gonna be ready on Wednesday, and he's gonna go to get it. And he just wanted to know if there was a plan for what to do with the bus, the old bus, now that we have the new bus.
Yeah, we need to put it up for sale.
Okay. So,
Usually we include that as a trade-in, but I guess we didn't when we...
listen, I don't know, that was before me.
Okay, so talk with Greg.
Okay.
What we have done in the past when we got Obama buses, we gave one to, because we had to destroy an old bus.
Okay.
And one of our buses was fairly new, so what we did was we traded with Todd over at West River, and we took one of his old buses, because you had to cut the frame and put a hole in the motor and stuff, engine. So we wanted, so I don't know if the bus is anything that he would want, and or, you know, if we can get a few dollars for it. Usually we run them pretty hard into the ground, so.
Yes.
And there's actually some people that buy them, and we sold one once for, somebody wanted the engine for their dumping truck.
I guess just some tidbits about what's going around the school. Let's see, last week I had my first coffee with the principal after school sang, and it was lovely. Parents are great. We are finishing up our Ames web testing, and scores are coming in. Working on expectations, trying to move through this conscious discipline. It's what we use here at Dover. We're on our second training for the staff this coming Wednesday, and we are moving right along.
Thank you. Any questions for Tracy? Okay, well, moving right along. So I brought it up with Greg a little bit. He said either date worked for him. Donna, between you and Kate and I, we should plan on meeting with the Wardsboro Select Board either October 10th or October 24th. So do you want to do that now, or do we want to just send an email around? Thank you, Bob.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Both
Go
are
ahead,
Tuesdays.
Donna. Oh, you're looking?
Sorry about that. So what's a good time for everybody on that side?
Well, it's October 10th or October 24th at 6:30.
PM?
Oh,
Yeah.
6:30. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Either one is fine with me. We have staff meeting that day, so I will hang around until that time. So you pick the date.
Are they Tuesdays?
Yes, they're both
They're
Tuesdays. And to call out, Monday, October 9th
It's a holiday.
is a holiday. I put the open house on the wrong day. What day is open house in Wardsboro?
Was it the 5th or 6th, October 5th? I'll look.
Okay. I put that in on the wrong date, so. Okay. Yeah, either of those two.
Yeah,
Okay.
October 5th.
I'll send you
Thank you.
both an email, and let me look at my schedule, because my schedule's on paper, my desk, on a calendar. So let me look and make sure, and I'll just send it to you both, and if it works, will respond to Karen at the Wardsboro Select Board. Cool. So I've exhausted new business. Does anybody else have anything new?
Hang on, let's just check the list. Principals report, policy, Wardsboro. Okay. Consent. Yeah.
Okay, so consent agenda, I've got the August 7th and August 23rd, 2023 minutes. If nobody has any comments or issues, by unanimous consent, we'll accept those. Cool. By unanimous consent, they've been accepted. I have no correspondence. I don't think anybody told me of any. My only question is, why is our next proposed meeting October 16th? Shouldn't it be October 1st? Or 2nd, I mean?
Yeah, it should be earlier. It should be the first Monday in October, which would be October 2nd.
Okay, so our next actual meeting is October 2nd. And that will be at Wardsboro, Donna. First meeting of the month is always in Wardsboro. And then October 16th in Dover. This is pretty good. It's really been a month since we've had a formal meeting. So to be done in less than an hour and a half. And we covered a lot of topics. Everybody, we really appreciate it. We moved it right along, but I think we covered everything thoroughly. So the only other thing I see is for somebody to make that magic motion.
I would love to make a motion to adjourn at 7:19 p.m.
Second?
Second.
Mike seconds it. Is there any discussion? Anybody want to stay longer? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, everybody.